Here we go again, your trend update, coming to you at pretty interesting times. A couple of weeks ago, well, months ago, I posted a video, trends finally starting in 2018, because from February to late September, we really have to admit that for trend traders, for long-term trend traders, these markets really sucked and nothing was really going. We went into positions in gold. We had US dollar yen positions. We had US dollar Canadian. We had British pound yen. We had euro dollar. We had euro Swiss franc. We had Australian yen positions. We did a lot of things in Forex. We did a couple of things in metals. We did a couple of things in indices, and really nothing worked. Lots of small losses were accumulated. And again, at this point, if you have a trend following approach where you already know from people who trade trend following approaches and also from your own backtest, hopefully, you know that your winning ratio is going to be less than 50%. So less than half of the trades that you enter will actually turn out a profit. Therefore, risking too much on trades or certain setups is not a good idea, in the sense that you already know from the beginning that most of the stuff you're going to open is going to fail on you. And therefore, if you pick the wrong trades where you add on or where you have too much of a position going, you already know that if you're running, or as soon as you're running out of luck, you're not going to be able to come out ahead and to be able to have an equity curve that is going up. But your one trade where you risk too much will diminish or destroy all of the profits that you had before on the positions where you took appropriate or smaller risks. So we are talking something between 0.5 and 3% for your initial entries, and as soon as you take more than that on your initial entry, but even on add-ons, you're going to run into trouble at some point, because the trades are going to fail you, your win ratio is very low, and therefore you are very likely, or the odds are against you when it comes to picking the right trade that is actually gonna go where you risk enough or not enough, but where you risk more, hoping that you're going to make more. But usually what happens is you're going to lose more. And therefore, you're really ruining the whole performance for the year or for your trade sequence or whatever. Of course, as times are interesting here in October 2018, I'm coming back to you as well. With trend trading and system trading, we don't really, or we don't really belong to the group of traders that sell something on Twitter and are gone as soon as the markets are not working anymore, or as soon as we are exposed for something. Just heard of Larry Tantarelli, who apparently was recommending or advising people to do this or that. Turns out he didn't have a license for that. Sometimes you gotta wonder who on Twitter is not a fraud. That is really crazy. I don't know why everybody is a fraud, but it seems like most people are, or many people are. Who knows? The individuals who are not and who have the experience are very often the ones that nobody cares about, nobody reads them, and nobody follows them. You really gotta be on these platforms a while and browse and search and look for these people. Oh well, let's simply continue what we have been doing, and let's focus on what we are doing, and where is the next trade, where is our next profit. And let's start out and take a look today, or revise really quickly, that a couple of weeks ago when we talked the last time, we had long positions in the Dow. And we were long from this black line here, or if you're not long from there, you're long from here. That's the trend continuation breakout. Market rises, makes a new all-time high. Then 2 weeks ago, you can see that the market closes on this Friday here very down low. This is where I was stopped out. So all of my profits were gone. I entered from below here. Market went up, and it stopped me out in a way that I didn't have any profits anymore, including the commissions and so on and so forth. Therefore, my typical risk was at the entry. Uh, Trend didn't come together. I'm stopped out. So what? I have no positions in the US indices right now, not in any of them. Why? I'm a long-term trader. I want to stay with the market for a couple of weeks. I don't want to be the 4-hour or 1-hour guy. I also don't want to be the daily guy really, because the daily is too noisy for me. Therefore, weekly is my time frame where I'm looking at and where I'm saying, hey, there is an opportunity here. In markets like this, like we have right now, where it looks like we're dropping down quickly and without any upticks in between, there are these times when I'm looking at the daily for exits, but the overall situation that makes me get into a trade will always be dependent on the weekly, because the weekly is the most stable. The daily is noisy. Ever since we have people from all over the world investing all over the world, we have noisy daily charts. For me at least, I enjoy weeklies much more. So weekly chart is down. We are inside the balance zone. If you don't know what that means, please watch my trend following approach explained video. We are inside the balance zone, and as long as we don't have a breakout signal that is taken on the weekly to the downside, we are not entering these markets here, and that is the case in all of the US indices. Yes, they did drop down a lot. Yes, we are below the balance zone even for the close for this week, but where is that fractal or the breakout point that will make me go short? It doesn't exist yet. It's possible that this market just drops down a whole lot, meeting the support area that is marked by all of those fractals here, somewhere in between stopping and then turning around, or, possibly just moving right through it and looking for the next support area. Who knows? I don't know. I don't want to speculate about that, but fact is, this market is not ready for me to participate here, and I'm not going to trade that short because my system doesn't tell me that these markets are ready for it. And that's US. If you take a look at European indices, very different. We have mentioned this before, that Europe is much shorter than the US, because we have breakouts already happening on the monthly chart. Monthly chart in the DAX, for example, has shown us or given us a breakout signal to the downside. We have our breakout marked here. In March 2018 it was created, and now in October it's taken. We even have a divergence in the momentum indicator, and on the weekly, of course, we have sell signals here. We are selling. This line can be extended, and it's a sell. And it's a sell from above here, but at this point here, down here, let me move that here, it's the clearest sell of them all. And you're short, or I am short from there. And it's the same in the UK. Market was selling below here, and now it's selling below here as well. And it's the same in the Spanish index. Market is selling right below here. Completely normal breakout signal to the downside. This is not anything that never occurs. The fact is just that most of the time stock indices move up, stock markets move up. We are now entering a period where the overall time frames break out to the downside, and they have done this in Europe. They have not done it in the US, but they have done it here. And therefore we are short, and we are holding short. And that's the point what I tweeted today, that early September my system gets me out of longs, then nothing happens for a while, and I'm short now as the markets start to collapse, and everybody else is surprised that it collapses. The timing of all of that is dependent on the system that I trade. There are other trend followers who lost more than I did, and who are not short in these markets right now. That's simply because they have a little bit or they have different entry and exit signals, and as they get stopped out, this might happen sooner or later than in my system. And therefore my system in this case had a good timing, as it got me out before the market dropped. At least in the European indices. In the Dow it didn't work. There I was also stopped out without any profit on my long. And now the system takes me short. The other traders that have suffered more losses or are down a little bit more, and who didn't go short here in October, in other cases when the trend does a bigger type of correction, where the correction is a little bit extended also, they are staying in and they are staying long, and the trend continues, and I'm stopped out and I have to re-enter. And this is just a way of what kind of signals do you use? How tight do you run your stops? How much room do you give the market? How much time do you give the market to develop your position? And therefore, I think that we have many trend followers now that have realized the bull market seems to have ended. Now we are short, so you're either in cash or you're trading it short. Um, yeah, that's just a matter of systems, and it's a matter of time frames, I guess. So that's the indices here, US and Europe. We have nothing really else going. We have British pound, US dollar. We have been in this for a very long time, sold it there and sold it again down here. It hasn't done anything worthy in between all of those weeks, this week and that week, so to speak, and now it's coming down again a little bit. Overall, it's down, so we are holding this short. Very boring, nothing really happening, at least in that time. So we don't have an opinion. We just hold the position until we're stopped out. New Zealand dollar, Australian dollar. We are short. That's the breakout. We are holding short. Nothing else to say. Overall time frame is running to the downside. Australian dollar, same deal. We are short from here and have actually accumulated quite a lot of pips. 0.7490 that was, and now we are at 0.7080 something. Yeah, so something like 400 points. It's not that much actually. Anyway, trends are running, not a lot of momentum if you compare to the previous trend, which already gives us the indication that we might be able to draw a divergence line between this low and the new low that this thing will make. But there will not be a whole lot of steam and dynamic coming into this market that will send it so low that we are seeing a completely new move, a fresh move to the downside. We will have to wait and see for that. Other than that, no positions are on. I had a position in a stock EDFP. I exited that because the overall market was coming down. I don't have a lot of experience with stocks yet, so I have to wait and see how I want to play that. But I didn't want to hold it while all of the indices worldwide are coming down. Yeah, that's the situation. This is not. I mean, it is exciting to have the market do what it did, and it's very interesting to watch the market unfold day by day when we are in a phase like this. And it's also very interesting to see whether the system holds up and how much you lose when something like this happens, because it will tell you immediately if you were too greedy, if you were too fearful, if your system is playing according to the market behavior, if it's able to adapt to market phases like this. But in the end, at the end of the day, what you're really looking at is your process. Follow your process. It doesn't really matter what the fuck the market is doing. You're just following the process and you're just sticking with it. And if it's a big move, a small move with lots or no volatility, doesn't really matter because you're just reacting to it. And when you develop your trading system, or when you look back over the last 10, 20 years of trends, and how would you have traded it and how would your system have performed, or imagine in 10 or in 20 years, where do you want to be? Is such a week or such a month really important to, and what you felt and how you reacted and all this kind of stuff? It really just boils down to your system, and it really boils down to you being in charge and in control and in an objective position to stay in charge and in control of emotions and any greed or fear that might appear. And all the rest is just noise, and all the talk on Twitter is just noise. And I guess Twitter exists because people need to get that out, you know, and I need to get that out for sure. So I can sit there and then in the end do the right thing and act according to my system. And that's what makes it profitable. Still, overall, it's very long, a long duration that it will take to actually make money and make a lot of money, because since you never risk too much, you can't you also can't make too much money in that sense, you know. You will never make 100% on one trade because you're never risking a 100% on any trade. So, or 50% on any trade, and then you make 100% or something like this. You can do that, but you do it 2 or 3 times and then you're broke. That's the problem here. And as Michael Melasinos has pointed out, trend following has seen a recession in the last 10 years. That's how he phrased that trends didn't really run very well, and we didn't have a lot of them in the past 10 years. And these are actually the years where I have been active. I'm still pretty young, in my early 30s, and that's really all I have seen, you know. And I haven't seen exuberant trends that just keep on running, and are happening everywhere, like in the late 90s or something like that, or even after the dot-com crash, where we had a nice bull markets happening until 2008. So let's see if that really is our recession as the trend trader, and let's see if trends are going to unfold better in the coming years, and we can pull off greater profits, because that's really all it is. We just stand there, take the signal, and hopefully, as Ed Sekoda says, the whole thing goes to the moon. Because when it goes to the moon, it means we never have to sell, and we make a lot of profit on the trade. As long as it's running, we are making money. So let's see how well that works out. Right now we're short. It's going to be interesting, but again, it all boils down to us staying in charge, keeping emotions in check, and doing what the system tells us. Let's see how that works out in the coming weeks. Thanks for watching the video, and happy trading. See you soon.